and I turn it on and shuts right back off and does the same fucking thing it was doing. And so I'm just like sitting there, totally defeated, on my floor with my computer. There's like screwdrivers everywhere. There's random shit littered around, and I'm like, did I just break my computer? Like, what the fuck? So I'm just sitting there like, what could it possibly have been? Even if it sounds like the dumbest thing ever, why did it work? And then I changed one tiny thing, and now it doesn't work. What could I possibly have done? And so I do remember at one point, there's like a brace that you have to put on the back in order to hold the heatsink.
Okay.
And I remember when I installed it the second time, I noticed that brace was a little wobbly, so I just tightened a screw to keep it in place. So I was like, maybe that was the problem, I guess. And I take my screwdriver, I go to that one screw, quarter turn the other way. Computer works fine now. I had slightly too tight of like the brace on the back. And that was it took me like 5 days to fix that.
That's so awful. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Wow.
I still don't know why that created such a problem, but I guess, if you're having computer troubles, it might be because the screw is too tight.
Too tight? That's so weird. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah, this is why I've never wanted to build my own computer. I'm like, I would immediately just stop and be like, it's broken, buy something else.
Fuck this.
I'm gonna buy something. I can't deal with this. Oh my god.
Yeah. This is the first problem I've ever had. Normally I just throw stuff in, I don't really know what I'm doing, I don't really research it, and everything works fine. This is like the first time that strategy has failed me.
Ugh.
Yeah,
anyway,
we got there, and we're recording now. So.
And we're fine, and it's all good. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to episode 21 of the Arena Regulars podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Jeff.
And we're your source for weekly Drunken Magic the Gathering arena content.
Yeah, basically, we're regular dudes drinking irregular beer, having unregulated conversations about Magic, including regulated play.
So our main topic for this episode is the Historic Anthology IV that we are getting the day that this episode comes out. So 25 brand new cards of the historic format, so that's quite exciting.
Make sure you listen to this before you buy.
Yes.
Although,
listen to this.
Bought, I guess that warning was useless.
Listen to us before you spend any money on it. But before we do that, each week we both bring a beer, we drink our own, then drink each other's, then rate them on a scale of bronze to mythic, and choose the best for last. So with that, Jeff, what's on tap?
All right, so we had so much fun with our tap takeover, last time with Rorschach that we decided to do it again. So this week and next, we will be doing a Blood Brothers tap takeover. So we both brought beer from Blood Brothers. It's a local Toronto brewery. It's actually really close to my house, so that's great. I've had a lot of their stuff, because of that. But this time I picked two things I have never tried. So what I got here is called Bear Worship, and it's a wild ale with peach and nectarine at 8%. What do you got?
So from Blood Brothers as well, I have their Paradise Lost, which is one of their sour ales that they do quite well. This is their blackberry gin version. It's 6.9%, and it has a picture of like palm trees and like prisms and stuff on the can with their cool hand with the blood coming out of it, as always.
Yeah, for my art, I wrote Two Bears Cult Mural.
Sure.
It's like there's that like culty vibe to it, and it's kind of a mural.
It's kind of like
on it. I don't know.
the California flag like twice. It's like the same kind of bear that it looks like in the California flag.
Right. Yeah. I wonder if that's intentional.
Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that's just like what is it? The clip art bear.
Yeah.
California used it for their flag.
You Google free bear clip art.
Free bear clip art. It's just that. And California's like, we're taking it for our flag. And then they're like, we'll use it for our beer. It's fine. So Magic news, like we said earlier, the Historic Anthology IV is coming out. But it is interesting that this is the third week in a row we've had new cards to look at that are coming to something. I feel like we did spoilers.
A lot of new cards these days.
Yeah, there's just so many new cards. But before we jump right into things, Jeff, how was your arena week?
It was okay. Yeah. Uneventful. I did play in one satellite, and I went 2 and 3.
Very nice.
With my red-white Tybalt's Trickery deck.
Oh, okay.
And Oh yeah. All
right.
I brought a brew. I learned a lot about how to fix that deck, and I had some razor thin matches. Like I had a crazy match against Cycling, where the game that sort of decided the whole thing, because I kind of have to beat them in the air before they draw their like third Zenith Flare, because I can tip Trickery away the first one, the second one might not be lethal, or the first one might not be lethal, the second one I can get a Trickery off on it, but usually the third or fourth one will kill me. But they don't block flyers that well, so I have to try to kill them in the air, and it came down to basically they top decked Zenith Flare for lethal when I had them at 1 with like 3 flyers. And I was like, no, almost had it. But
Dang.
yeah, so a couple of razor thin matches could have easily gone the other way that would have ended in like 4-1. But yeah, the deck still needs a bit of work, but it was a lot of fun.
Cool. Very cool. I actually also played in a satellite for the first time.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Mission accomplished.
I have completed my goal for the season. Boom.
It's nice to get it over with early. Huh?
Just make it easy. And not only that, but I also won one of the matches that I played.
Hey, there you go.
Yeah, it didn't go super well. I was playing Naya Adventures, which I like, but I think I was really nervous, and then the first round I got lost somehow on the website and did not start it right away because something went wrong. I got moved somewhere and couldn't figure out what was going on, so I lost some time there, and then it ended up kind of timing out later in the match, so that was kind of a bummer.
Okay.
Because of that, knowing I started late, so then I all that stuff, and then then played a couple other ones, but it was good. I had a good time. I definitely wanted to play another one, so I definitely will be doing that whenever I can.
That's great. Yeah. Naya didn't do so well overall.
It
unless if you were playing the Reed Duke version, which I think you were, right?
I was, yeah.
Because people were kind of flocking to Sultai.
Yeah.
Which is a tough matchup.
It is. I definitely lost to a Sultai deck. But I did play against the 4-color, I think it was Andrea Mengucci's Yorion deck, the 4-color one. I ended up being able to beat that one, which was great. Because
nice.
I hate playing against those decks because I usually lose. And I was like, the one win I got was from the deck I don't like playing against. That's great.
I beat a Yorion pile.
Yeah.
Yes.
Fuck Yorion. But yeah, anyway, it was a good weekend, and I'm excited for more of those satellites to play in them. So looking forward to that.
They're a lot of fun, and now that you're more used to it, you won't.
I'll be like
loss from time.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have to worry about. I know exactly how it works, where to go. Everything with the Discord and people and how it runs. So I will feel a lot more confident doing it the next time around. Anyway, Historic Anthology number 4.
Yeah, should we dig into this thing?
I think we should just jump right into it. So a quick overview of it. It's 25 new cards straight to Historic. So if you don't know anything about the Historic Anthologies, obviously this is the 4th one. And all the other ones have had a certain amount of cards that go straight into Historic. And you can buy them for a certain amount of gold or gems. And they're also craftable using your wild cards, but you won't ever find them in packs. So you can either decide to pay through the nose to get 4 copies of each of them, or just pick the ones you want for the decks you want to play and use your wild cards, which is probably...
Hint, do the second thing.
Yeah, you should not buy it. It's really expensive, and you're not going to use all the cards.
Yeah, they have it priced at exactly where it seems like it's not that bad a deal, and then you start to really think about it, you're like, this is kind of a bad deal.
It's a pretty bad deal. So...
It's 4,000 gems
Yeah.
or 25,000 gold.
That's a lot for a play set of cards that some of them are good, or some of them are fine, and the other ones are forgettable.
Exactly, yeah. So for 4,000 gems, the way I like to just quickly break it down is you definitely want to be getting like 6 or 7 play sets of rares in terms of wild cards, how much that's worth.
Okay.
And a mythic or something. This collection of cards has 10 rares and 2 mythics, but you have to ask yourself, do you think you're going to be playing 7 or 8 of those to make it worth this money, right? Are you really would you craft 8 of these rares?
Yeah.
And if the answer to that is no, then you're you're probably better off just using individual wild cards on the cards you want.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, I'm always happy when there's new cards that are coming into the format. And it's not a ton, so it's easier to look at them and see how they're going to impact or not impact the format, as opposed to like, here is a remastered set, which is like 2 sets kind of smushed together, and we'll see. So before we jump right into everything, I did think it was kind of interesting, strange, a little strange.
Yeah.
So of the 25 cards that are coming in this anthology, there are 4 that are Commander-only cards. They're mainly from Commander Legends, but I think there's one that's from one of the Ikoria Commander decks, which is strange, and it's also just the first time that we're getting Commander-only cards onto Arena, which we haven't really done that before. I didn't exactly know why they're deciding.
What about those like Commander cards like Corvold?
Well, those were standard legal.
Okay.
Because they were in
so you mean just like, but they were in a Commander product.
Those were in the Brawl.
You couldn't get them from
they were
packs.
Yeah, they were in the Brawl products when they were pushing for that. But they were all still considered standard, and that's why it was didn't feel as weird, because you could use those in your standard decks if you wanted. These you cannot. Like, they were never standard legal.
Right. That is definitely interesting, and the question that it made me ask is, I'm kind of wondering if Wizards is hinting at Historic Brawl becoming a thing here. Because why else are you injecting Commander cards into Brawl? Or into Historic, I mean.
Into Historic. That is interesting.
So that's what I thought immediately was, you know, there are some cards here that you're never going to see anyone play in competitive one-on-one Historic.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're thinking these are Commander cards that people might use in Brawl decks or build Brawl decks around, like this elephant that we'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And I know Historic Brawl is something that people have been asking for a while now. So maybe this is like a hint that they're going to do that at some point.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's a pretty good take on that. I was just thinking it was more of a way to have, I mean, like, always wanting more Commander players to play non-rotating formats, which is what they like the most. But yeah, I guess, I really think they're gearing up to show us that they're going to have Historic Brawl all the time before July. I think that's what they're saying right here.
Oh, yeah. Is that what you believe?
Yeah, it'll be before July. Which is
in August.
Yeah, which is the bet that we have going. But anyway, so not just the Commander cards, but they also have 6 cards that were part of sets that have already been remastered. So Amonkhet block and Kaladesh block. There are, among them, there are 6 cards that could have been in those remastered sets that they didn't put in and are now adding, which is also strange.
I have no explanation for this. This is super weird.
It's super weird. Especially because a couple of them are like, okay, maybe. They kind of have a focus on some cycling stuff and different things, but I don't understand why we would get rid of them. Is it because you think they're not good in draft or something? But like, there's a lot of cards that were in those that weren't good. And
right, like that's the natural thing to think is they didn't want them in the set because that set's meant to be draftable, but they did want them in Historic.
Yeah.
For particular reasons. But like, let's look at Amit Eternal.
Yeah.
Like, this card isn't going to ruin a draft format, nor is it something anyone's going to want to play in Historic. So it actually satisfies neither of those things.
Yeah.
You know, that they just couldn't include it for draft purposes, but really wanted it in the format. I don't see any reason for that.
I mean, like, that's a perfectly fine card to play in draft. It's probably what, would have been helpful to make, the Golgari -1/-1 counters deck work a little bit better.
Right. I don't remember if, like, Afflict just wasn't a mechanic or something, and that's why, but I don't know.
No, I'm pretty sure they had Afflict. They had a couple different things that did that. So I don't know why they decided not to. It is very strange that, like,
it's weird. Something like Inspiring Statuary, sure. You don't want that as a draft rare, I guess, because it doesn't do anything. But even then, it's like, what's the opportunity cost of adding a bad draft card at the rare slot? Pretty much nothing. So.
Exactly. So that doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Also, that they have added cards that we are hoping we're going to get a Shadows block remastered set in the summer. And they're adding Shadows block cards. It's like,
Right. So does that mean that we're not going to get Shadows Block stuff?
Or are we going to, because you just added cards from the remastered sets that we thought you weren't going to give us later? Like,
right. And then they added some Innistrad stuff, which presumably is to like try to hype up the Innistrad.
yeah, I guess, which is going to be in the fall. Get you ready, because well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. But I will say that there was one inclusion that I'm glad that they just left out, which is Dubious Challenge. That card.
Oh my God! How did you know I was going to say it?
That card is so
How
terrible.
could they possibly make the same mistake twice? You know, they left it out of remastered, and then now they're bringing back cards that they left out of remastered. It must
Snub
be
it.
here, right?
They snub it. It's so great. But with that quick overview, we just kind of want to quickly run through each of the cards and just kind of say what we feel about them and whether they're worth a slot or not in our decks.
Worth a slot.
That's our new theme song for that. So this first one, Jeff, do you want to kick us off with Triumphant Reckoning?
Triumphant Reckoning. For those of you like me who have never seen this card before, it's 6 white, white, white. Return all artifact, enchantment, and planeswalker cards from your graveyard to the battlefield, and it's a sorcery. That's way too expensive. It's very powerful. It's very, very easy to disrupt, and it's a 9-mana sorcery. So,
not worth a slot.
Rare wild card on this.
It's a 9-mana spell that doesn't immediately win the game on the spot, and you need to make sure you have your combo pieces, I guess. But you know, it's way too slow.
Folds to Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, and that card's played all the time.
Yeah.
So, we're not going to talk much about this card because it's not worth a slot.
It doesn't even return creatures.
No,
that's so
because
weird.
it's white. It had to be green-white to bring back creatures. Don't you know?
So then I guess it gets around Grafdigger's Cage.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
It just loses to like Soul Guide Lantern.
Or, I just think there's so much graveyard hate that you're not going to have a graveyard by the time
There's
you
just
play
more powerful ways to abuse your graveyard than this.
Yeah. Play any of the other graveyard decks. Like, come on. Anyway, let's go to the next one because I don't want to talk about Triumphant Reckoning anymore. But Declaration in Stone is 1 and a white for a sorcery. Exile target creature and all other creatures its controller controls with the same name as that creature. That player investigates for each non-token creature exiled this way. Cool.
This card is okay.
It's very okay. You know what's really great against? Tokens. It's great against wiping tokens. Do you know what format doesn't have a token strategy right now? Historic. Oh, look at that. Though, I mean, adding an exile effect to white is fine to sit there. It does seem kind of like a pitfall because it's sorcery speed and.
I have a hard time imagining a deck that wants this over just playing Glass Casket.
Mm-hmm. Exactly, because all the best creatures are 3 CMC or less, and also your Glass Caskets are uncommon wild cards. So if you don't have them, boom, don't waste your rares.
2 for 1 you.
Yeah. Hey, here, go draw a card. This is what you do. You put this in the deck where you're playing Shadow the Sky, and then Underworld Dreams. There you go. Boom.
They don't even have to draw a card.
They just get to decide. Jeff.
But if a token strategy pops up, you might want to play this. But until then,
So this could be one of those situations where they give us the tools before it becomes a problem. So I'm glad we have it. If we ever need to use it, it's there. I'm not going to buy this card until I need to.
Exactly, yeah.
Just another reason it's not worth a slot at the moment. It's not worth a slot.
Next up, though. Next up is the big player in this one. We got Thraben Inspector. 1 mana, 1/2, ETB Investigate. This card is great, actually.
Yeah.
It's always like a role player in successful white aggro decks, and so I don't really see any reason that it's not going to do that in Historic. If there is a white cheap creature deck that's good, then this will be a part of that.
Yes.
This is a card that I think is like a way they should be designing white creatures, and this guy should just basically be a part of every format, I think. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I'm happy to see it. it's not crazy exciting. I'm not trying to build wild decks around this new tool that we have, but it will enable some cheap white creature strategies.
Yes, it is definitely going to be helpful. What's also great is it's a common. So I'm really happy that they made the best card a common, so that it's really easy to obtain, and I don't have to spend money to get it. Great job, Wizards. Thank you for that. Next card is Think Twice. 1 in a blue for an instant draw card. Flashback, 2 in a blue.
Yeah, another just like rock solid common here.
Sweet. We'll probably see it in control decks.
Blue-white control might play a copy or two.
Yeah. So perfect. Worth a slot. That's it.
Yeah, there's not too much to say about the card.
Draw card. So that's it. Let's keep it moving.
Up next is, I don't know. This is a tough award to give out, but this is a contender for me for biggest, like, I don't know why the fuck this card is here in this anthology. Like, what? This was like a draft uncommon that people really loved, I guess. I don't think anyone's ever played it in any constructed format.
It's really great when draft uncommons are in sets that you can't draft.
Right? Like, are you putting this in your graveyard deck? Your big payoff is you get to pay 7 mana for a sorcery to make a few 1/2 spiders?
Yeah.
Like, that's your payoff for self-mill and constructed? It's just not good enough.
It's not.
I don't understand why this card is here.
Yeah. But go ahead.
But whatever, it's an uncommon. If you want to craft it, you can craft it.
Yeah. Do we read the card? It's just
I just assume everybody's familiar with this absolute classic.
Spider spawning. It's 4 and a green for a sorcery. Create a 1/2 green spider creature token with reach for each creature card in your graveyard, and it adds flashback for 6 and a black.
6 and a black.
Yep.
To make a bunch of spiders.
Yep. Yeah. Just not really getting there. You know what also doesn't get there? Adorn Pouncer. 1 and a white for a 1/1 double strike. Eternalize 3 white.
This one I at least like somewhat understand. They were doing the cat thing, right? So there are some like cat lords in Historic. Mm-hmm. If you're a cat tribal player, this is another card for you. That said, this is a card people always overrate. People just like it because it's a cat, but it's just not good.
Yeah.
Really?
It really
Eternalize cost is too expensive.
It's too expensive. It just wants you to put stuff like equipment or enchantments on it, in my mind, and
like a 4/4 double striker is no joke, but it's still just too much. Like, if you're doing the reanimator thing, you're already putting yourself through a bunch of hoops, and this isn't 4/4 double strike is nowhere near the payoff
it's
you need
not.
to be doing.
Yeah. I've definitely tried to use this card many times in other places, or even trying to abuse tokens and stuff. It's just doesn't.
I remember this being like the F&M promo or some alternate art promo, and everyone got really excited about it. I'm like, but the card is just not very good.
That promo did look cool though. But yes, you're right.
Yeah, it was a nice promo.
Which is fine. I kind of like promos when they're not great cards but look cool. Yeah. So not worth a slot.
Yeah, maybe someone's comboing this with Thraben Inspector and Bone Splitter, but
yeah. Do you want to talk about this crab right here, Jeff?
Okay, so we have Iceberg Cancrix, 1 in a blue for an 0/4 snow creature crab. Whenever another snow permanent enters the battlefield under your control, you may have target player mill 2 cards.
2? Wow. That's not as good as 3.
It's twice as much mana for 67% the milling.
But you know what is great? It means that you can play 8 Ruin Crabs, basically. If you play all snow lands.
Ruin Crab, this is not. Yeah, and this just like, the thing about mill is that if you don't mill them all the way, then you've accomplished nothing. In fact, in Modern Magic, you've helped them probably because of escape creature. Like, there's so many ways that decks that aren't even graveyard decks can use their graveyard.
Arcanist. You're just like...
And there are no other, like, snow mill cards. There are no other cards that are snow that mill that this wants to be in the same deck as. So...
Yeah.
I don't really get this card. This was another draft common that was popular.
Yeah.
Because you could kill people with these, but in draft.
You can mill yourself and then do some sort of shenanigans.
Yeah. Maybe there's like a snow self-mill thing.
You use Joran's staff thing to get things back from your graveyard? I have no idea.
Maybe.
So maybe there's...
I mean, that sounds like the kind of deck I would build.
Yeah.
But not be successful with.
So, you know, and also for all those crab fans, you know, doing crab tribal, there's another crab for you.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
This next one also loves snow things. Merit Lage's Slumber, 1 and a blue for a legendary snow enchantment. When Merit Lage's Slumber or another snow permanent enters the battlefield under your control, scry 1, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, if you control 10 or more snow permanents, you sacrifice this enchantment, and if you do, you create a Merit Lage, which is a legendary 2020 black avatar creature token with flying and indestructible.
Boy, that's a lot of work.
2020, you know.
2020.
So immediately that means that the card's terrible because it has 2020 on it.
Yeah. I mean, it is bad, though.
It's very last year. But yes, it is really bad.
The problem is the token doesn't trample.
Yes.
The token doesn't have haste.
Yep.
So there are just so many ways, and it doesn't have hexproof. Like, you can bounce it, you can block it with 1/1s, you can kill them, you know, before it attacks. You can. There are just too many ways to not lose the game to this token, and with these effects that require so much work from you, it just doesn't feel like this is a worthwhile way to try to kill somebody.
Yeah.
It's fun though.
It does seem fun.
It's like an alternate win con, kind of.
Yeah, it does seem like an alternate win con. That's just kind of like in your deck, maybe you have 1 or 2 in your snow deck, and maybe you're playing Snow Ramp or something, and you're like, sometimes I have a 2020 flyer.
Or some sort of like snow control deck that wants to just slip this on turn 2
and sit back.
But it can't be your whole game plan, because again, that 2020 is just too easy to not lose to.
Exactly. Noticeably, the hexproof thing, because like QR Best the Sea God, that Kraken is rough because you can't do anything to it if you don't have any wraths. So
yeah, exactly. Like this just loses to a glass casket.
Yeah, it's like gone.
When your mono white aggro opponent can easily deal with your 2020 win con, it's like
maybe you're in your control deck.
It's sketchy.
Yeah. It seems like a fun one of that you just throw in a deck that you're playing snow already, and then maybe it happens.
Yeah, if you want to make it work, like give it a try, but don't expect great results. I don't think.
Yeah, unless all you want to do is scry when you play stuff.
Yeah, you're just playing this as a 2-mana enchantment that scries.
When you play lands.
1 in every 40 games will win you the game.
So, I mean, doesn't seem worth it, but, you know, I will say, go for it. Seems fun. Definitely try it.
So I don't hate the inclusion of it, and I like the idea of trying to supplement call time in Historic with additional snow cards. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yes, I agree.
The particular ones they chose, not really doing it for me, but I appreciate the effort here to inject some snow cards to, you know, help you actually make a snow deck in Historic.
Yeah, I agree. I think that the adding some more of these just to help that on a little bit. And who knows, one day maybe it'll be a deck.
Yeah, if they keep adding more snow cards, you know.
Ultimately, like, I feel like we might be a little bit of a downer with some of this stuff, but like, we are looking at them specifically, and if I'm going to literally take this on Thursday and put it into a deck, most of the time it's no. But I am happy that they're all here. The more cards we have to play with are all great.
Yeah. There are no cards here that I'm upset that it's being added to the format.
Which is probably, you know, the best part is that, like, there's nothing like, wow, this is really going to ruin everything, which is wonderful.
Right. And they do that intentionally, right? They try to add in some cards that are cool, but are, you know, not really that pushed in power level, because you don't want to just add in, you know, force of will to the format and just radically change everything.
Which this next card, I like what they're probably doing with this thing. So this is a Sword of Body and Might. It's a 3-mana artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +2/+2 and has protection from green and blue. And whenever equipped creature deals combat damage to a player, you create a 2/2 green wolf creature token, and that player mills 10 cards, and it equips for 2. So this is a part of a sword cycle, which you've probably seen throughout the years. Magic has made a bunch of different sword of something, 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 and it gives 2 protections of different colors and +2/+2 and all that stuff. And this is probably one of the not great ones because for 2 reasons. I mean, green protection from green and blue isn't the best because those are the colors that aren't removing it most often. Black is really great because black and red is really good to have protection from because those are colors that kill stuff.
Right, because it's the creature that has protection, not the sword. So disenchants still work on this.
So green and blue are not the best protection colors, and then when it actually hits, it does some stuff. But again, milling your opponent could be helping them, and a 2/2 wolf isn't the best. But
Tell you what, though, this card's unbeatable and limited.
yeah, I put this in my spider spawning deck, and it was just phenomenal.
Wow, that really works.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, what I think is going to happen is that if they add one of the swords, the other swords are also pretty fun, and having swords are just cool in general. So if they add this one and nothing happens, nothing crazy happens, they might slowly give us swords, which
Right.
in my mind seem pretty sweet because I like equipment stuff, and that's really exciting. This one in particular doesn't excite me all that much, but what it might be telling us about the future is pretty exciting.
I like what they did with this one too, and I like that they in particular chose Sword of Body and Mind, because I think this is kind of a cheeky nod to the fact that Simic decks have kind of dominated Historic for a while, and this is pro-blue and pro-green, So I think that might have been on purpose. I don't know if they knew that they were banning Uro when this made it into the file.
So Uro is a problem. We'll just give him Sword of Body and Mind.
Sword of Body and Mind. That's such a funny middle finger to the player base. But I think this is like a cheeky acknowledgement that Simic is too good.
So that's kind of fun, and I'm glad that we're gonna have it. That will be one of the ones that I'm like, I might play around with this one. Is it worth a slot?
General is maybe a sideboard card if blue-green decks get really good and rely on creatures, because that's what's going to matter is those protection clauses. Yeah, the problem is we just have better equipment than these nowadays. Like, compare this to Embercleave,
Exactly.
Embercleave is just a little bit more powerful.
Anything that just attaches immediately, Embercleave could cost 2. This will always cost 5. So, not super.
Like even Maul of the Skyclaves is just kind of much better than this.
Yeah. You never know. Maybe it'll be helpful in something. I'm glad we have it. I'm not going to be crafting any right away.
Yeah, especially at Mythic. But that's not where the equipment train ends.
No,
we got
it
more
does
equipment
not.
stuff.
We sure do.
So maybe we'll wrap up these next 2 equipment cards, and then I think that'll be a good time to go to a break.
I'm pretty sure you're right.
Up next, we got Goblin Gavalier.
Okay.
This little guy is
Sounds
furious. Cool. 1 mana, 1/1.
Okay, I like it.
Trample.
Ooh.
What do you think of 1 mana, 1/1 trample?
I love
excited.
them.
Excited already. Goblin Gavalier gets +2/+0 for each equipment attached to it.
Ooh, okay. More on board. These kinds of things are never amazing, but I always like them. I always think that they're cool. The fact that, it dies to any red spell, basically.
It dies to everything, Zach. If you just look at it funny, this thing goes to the graveyard.
Okay, yeah. A squirrel will kill it.
Yeah.
Actually, well, I guess we can't say that anymore because Toski is actually pretty great, but
yeah.
But yeah, it doesn't block. Let's just say that.
Yeah, the problem with this card is that the idea is it makes your equipment really good because it gets huge and then tramples over everything. The thing is, it only tramples over for 1 combat because any combat is going to kill it.
Yep.
The other issue is that the red decks, the equipment they play is Embercleave, which already gives trample. So it's better to just kind of play a better 1-drop than this.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, you have to be really in on equipment that is not Embercleave in your red aggressive deck, and I just don't understand why that deck would exist.
Yeah.
If we had like Colossus Hammer or something, is that something we have access to that gives
We
plus
do.
10/+10?
Yeah.
Then like giving this +12, +10, and trample is a big game.
That's true. Yeah, there was that deck a while ago that would reanimate it from your graveyard using, what was that? There was that one red card that would take an aura from your graveyard or an equipment and put it onto a creature.
Okay. Yeah, maybe this is a tool for the Colossus Hammer combo decks then.
So, seems cool. You know what also might fit in that deck? Bone Splitter. It's a 1 mana artifact equipment. Equipped a creature gets +2/+0. Equipped for 1. So
This is the OG, man.
Yeah.
Original Mirrodin. I remember playing with this thing.
yeah, I remember taking this card and proxying other cards on top of it.
Yeah. But this is a good rate. Like, we don't really get common equipment for this rate anymore because this was the first time they were designing equipment. They didn't really know what the equip costs should cost. So this is totally. I mean, it's not really constructed level, but it was a good limited card.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely like it a lot. Like, how much do you like this more than the ones that are 1 mana, 1 equip, +1/+1?
I think this is better
I agree.
because equipment wants you to be aggressive.
If you're going to trade with something, you're always going to trade up more with this.
Exactly. Yeah, this lets your 1-drop trade with their 3-drop. You know.
So, and then you don't really care because all your other creatures kind of suck too, but then you throw this equipment on it and it gets much better. So, cool. It's also common, so sweet. Both of these last cards were common, so that makes me like, you know what? Who cares? Sure, I'll buy those.
Right.
Yeah.
Throw those in.
I have them in the collection if I'm going through. Don't realize I'm not on not collected when I'm sorting through stuff. I might see them and put them in something. So
If like Goblin Gavalier plus Colossus Hammer becomes the top deck, I won't even know how to react to that.
that would be amazing. I'm playing that deck immediately and for a long time. If that's what happens.
It's like this deck has so many weaknesses. How did it become number 1?
Yeah, I like a deck with weaknesses. It makes it feel well rounded.
Yeah.
You know?
That would be like the next level of Azorius Auras. Like,
I'm all for it. Yeah, let's do
we're
it.
all in on this one kind of dorky game plan, and it's very disruptible.
Yeah, I love decks that are all in on something. I think you just play a bunch of cards that give it hexproof and stuff, whatever.
Ugh.
The best. What's
The
wrong
Boggle
with it?
Hammer.
Boggle Hammer. That's okay. Never mind. I'm changing everything. The 3 equipment, I'm buying all of them, and I'm making something happen. Oh boy. But you know what I'm not equipped with right now, Jeff?
What's that?
Any beer.
Oh no! Well, we better fix
Fix that. Let's go.
We better pay the equip costs on that.
and get a beer break here. Okay. I'm ready to worship these bears. I was about to say beer, and then I was like, wait, it's not beer worship, it's bear worship. Ooh,
Bear worship.
bear worship.
You know, after drinking that beer, I still don't understand the name.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know.
You really said that like you had something there. You know?
Yeah, I don't have anything for it. All right, let's get back into this. Okay, so this these next cards, these are some of the ones we were talking about before, where they were just kind of left out of the remastered set. And once we go through them, we can decide whether they should have been in either of them. I guess. I don't know.
Okay, up first. Oh, by the way, why is every beer you give me like purple? Is that just a thing that
I like purple. Purple's great.
all of your beers are purple?
Yeah.
So first up, Torment of Scarabs. I think this is another contender. I think Spider Spawning's still ahead, but this one is in the race for, I don't know why this card is here.
Yeah.
3 and a black for an enchantment Aura Curse, which is enchant player. At the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a non-land permanent or discard a card. Is this to go with like Turgrid? Why is this here?
Maybe this goes in.
This is like Turgrid's Lantern, right?
Yeah.
Just
it's that effect. It's like the Torment of Hailfire thing, right?
It's worded differently, right? Turgrid's Lantern is like they sack a permanent unless they lose 3 life or whatever, but this is...
Yeah. So, does this go in a Turgrid deck?
If such a thing even exists. I mean, not really, because they could always just choose not to sack a permanent.
They just lose the life? I don't know. Pretty iffy on this. This is even something I want to craft just to have, even if it's an uncommon. I'm like, I don't need them. I will save them for something else.
I'm just trying to think of why this card is here. Turgrid's the only thing that comes to mind.
So, okay, so going back, that could be, if you're playing Turgrid as your Historic Brawl commander, this would go into that deck.
Then maybe you play this card, right?
Okay, so if most of these, if we're looking back and be like, okay, are all these kind of Brawl cards? Is that why they're hinting at us? I mean, that's exciting in the sense that we'll get Historic Brawl, hopefully always.
Like maybe the Goblin Gavaliers for some sort of Nahiri deck.
Maybe, yeah, you could have that Nahiri deck or Coal. If you make a Coal deck, that'll go in that. So looking at it from that perspective, there might be a bit more. Some of these might make a little bit more sense. But that Torment of Scarabs is definitely a not worth a slot in my opinion. But moving right along, Flame Blade Adept. It's 1 mana, 1/2 Jackal Warrior. That's red. Has Menace, and whenever you cycle or discard a card, it gets +1/+0 until end of turn.
Yeah, so this was one of the ones that I understood, I guess. Like, I'm not sure why this wasn't just in Amonkhet Remastered, because I don't think it would warp the draft format.
Yeah.
But I at least understand the side of it of maybe you want this in Historic to try to push a cycling deck, an aggro cycling deck in Historic. There's one that exists in Standard. Mm-hmm. It's going to need a little bit of help to make the jump into Historic. And this is a decent one-drop for that kind of deck. I think it's not as good as the Fox. Mm-hmm. But it's respectable second place to the Fox as a one-drop that's going to deal a lot of damage in that deck.
I guess, well, it is interesting. So the Flame Blade Adept is red, of course, and then in the actual remastered set, cycling is kind of like a blue-black thing. So maybe that's why they didn't want to try to push it into like Grixis stuff. I think it seems fine. I wonder if it might help in like a Hollowed One deck or something.
This was played in the Hollowed One decks in Modern.
Yeah, right. So that makes more sense for its inclusion. Possibly they're just like, here's some more pieces. Maybe that'll kind of come to fruition at some point. But I kind of like this one. 1 mana creatures, tend to like those.
Yeah, and like you've been saying the whole time, it's an uncommon.
Yeah.
So
which is great.
Whatever. If it's not good, it's not good. Who cares?
Yeah, I will have used 4 uncommon wildcards on it. But this next one, though, here we go. Talking about cycling, talking about discarding. Let's see it. What is it, Jeff?
Faith of the Devoted. 2 and a black enchantment. Whenever you cycle or discard a card, you may pay 1. If you do, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life. Main problem with this card, it does not have cycling.
Yes.
I think this card, if it has cycling, is a slam dunk. If it's just cycling for 1 or 2. Mm-hmm. But because it doesn't, now it has to go in some sort of weird blue-black cycling control deck, or like the decks that are all about critical mass of cycling cards don't want it anymore. Mm-hmm. So it's
interesting. I had never thought about it that way. I always thought it just seemed like not fantastic. I wish that it would just. I didn't have to pay more.
But if you look at the cycling deck in Standard, some of the cards they play are so bad.
They're so awful.
Cycling.
Yeah. Cycling for 1 is the big thing in the Standard deck.
Exactly. You're just taking every card that cycles for 1.
Yeah.
And this would actually be fine in that deck if it itself had cycling, because there's only so many cards you can play that don't have cycling.
Exactly.
Like that.
Yeah. Though it has been interesting, that deck has been branching out a little bit, where they're playing less of the one-shot card. And more of the Iron Crag, what is it? The 04 Pyromancer.
Yeah, that's what hosed me in the Satellite, because I was expecting the Luris version, but my deck was not equipped to kill an 04 because my removal was Giant Killers and Frostbites.
Yeah.
And that deals 3 or kill something with power 4 or greater.
And man,
so 04 was really annoying.
That it also, I had to go up against it as well, and that card was rough. I just had cards trapped in my hand being like, I can't play any of these because they all die immediately.
Right.
So
I was relying pretty heavily on Skyclave Apparition to get those things off the board.
So maybe in something, if this deck kind of evolves into, instead of being the all in on this one plan, when it starts to branch out, there might be some more pieces, but this doesn't seem like one of those. Just because,
it's just
like you said,
asking a lot to pay a whole extra mana. Like what that deck wants to do is every turn cycle for the amount of lands it has.
Exactly.
But this kills fast, right? If you're at 4 and you're cycling 2 cards a turn, it's draining 4 per turn.
So I don't think it's really worth a slot. I think that there doesn't really fit anywhere, but. Once again, it's there, so cool.
Yeah, like I said, there's only so many cards without cycling you can play, and I think you'd probably play the Flame Blade Adept before you played this.
Yeah, I think we should just move on to the next thing. This is Lisa Lana Huntmaster. 2 green for an elf warrior that's a 3/3. Whenever you cast an elf spell, you may create a 1/1 green elf warrior creature token for 4 mana.
Yeah, these elves is like a deck in Historic that pops up every once in a while. People love elves.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'd be happy if elves was a reasonable tier 2 deck in the format. That'd be great. So any elf help is always justified, but this card is so bad.
It's not, because we already have the one we just got from Kaldheim that basically
Right.
it does the same thing but only once a turn, but it costs 2 mana. And it has
so
an
much
activated ability.
better.
It's just so much better.
It's so much better. This is too much mana.
It's so expensive.
That's
It doesn't pump the team. You have to play something else afterwards to make it worth it.
right. So you have to invest like 6 mana to trigger this thing the
To
first
get
time.
a 1/1. I mean, the
this
good thing
card's-
about it is that when you play as many elves as you want in your turn, or you keep getting more and more, which is great. And the other ones that they have at the moment don't do that. But I'd rather try to play an elf deck that can possibly fit in a collected company shell or something that would be able
Yeah, it
to.
doesn't even get hit off Coco. There's
Yeah.
no way.
It's just
But again,
it's a common.
if yeah, and if you're trying to play an elf deck in Brawl and you just need a critical mass of elves and you can only play one of each,
That's true.
then just more elves. is more
Exactly,
elves.
and that's a lot. Yeah, it's definitely a lot better than that because you can't double up on all your lords like you can in Historic. So okay, once again, Brawl. That's what we're really realizing. Historic Brawl must be coming. It's got to come because
It's gotta be, right?
it looks like
Otherwise, some of these cards make no sense.
they make no sense. This next one is like a maybe. I guess it really is like a Historic Brawl thing. Obviously, it's a commander. So Abomination of Llanowar. It's 1 green/black for a legendary elf horror creature. It's a star with vigilance and menace. Abomination of Llanowwar's power and toughness are each equal to the number of elves you control, plus the number of elf cards in your graveyard.
Love it. I would build a Brawl deck around this.
Absolutely, yeah. Seems
It's
super
green
fun.
black. It's graveyard centric. It's elves. I love all of those things. I would try it.
For sure, I would definitely do that. Seems fun. The first deck I ever played was Soulless One, which is the zombie version of this that doesn't have any keywords and costs more. And this is just better
Times
in
have
all
changed,
the ways. Yeah, I think seems good. Would be a reason you would probably want to play Golgari Elves instead of mono green.
Yeah.
Big.
But as far as one-on-one historic competitive play, no chance. Right?
No, for sure, you can't. Historic Brawl, though, once again, seems sweet. Let's just say it's definitely worth a slot in Historic Brawl. Maybe we should switch everything. Can we play this in Historic Brawl? Because that's
Let's just
what it
go
feels.
hard on assuming that they're telling us that historic Brawl is
I mean, like, we should probably count all the cards. When we're done with this, let's count all the cards that are Historic Brawl cards and not
yeah.
actually for other play. But anyway, do you want to tackle this next one?
Yeah, Inspiring Statuary. It's a 3-mana artifact. Non-artifact spells you cast have Improvise, which is like the Convoke mechanic for artifacts. You can tap artifacts to pay 1. This card wasn't very good when it was in Standard. I don't think it's good now. Maybe it's busted in Commander. I don't know.
No, I've never.
But I feel like the artifacts you play in Commander are mana rocks, so you don't need this.
Exactly.
You know?
I was thinking.
So this is like a mana rock for non-artifact spells.
Yeah, that turns all your other artifacts that you might have into mana rocks, kind of colorless.
Right, but what artifacts are you playing that aren't either mana rocks or doing something else? You know.
The lantern for the graveyard lantern.
Yeah, Lantern of Soul Guide Lantern.
Yeah, Soul Guide Lantern.
I don't know. There's probably some combo
I mean,
with this with something like Historic's a broad enough format.
yeah, Ornithopter, this, and something blue.
I don't know. This card doesn't excite me really, but it might be exciting to some people.
Yeah, it does seem like a combo-y kind of card, and I'm not a big combo player, so I'm usually not looking for those kinds of things. So,
Right.
if you do know what we should use it for, you should find us on Instagram and Twitter and tell us what it is.
Up next.
Cold Steel Heart, 2 mana for a snow artifact. Hey, this goes in the snow decks. Cool.
There you go.
It enters the battlefield tapped, and as it enters the battlefield, you choose a color, and it taps for the chosen color. Sweet. Mana rocks for Historic Brawl.
Yeah.
On to the
There we
next
go.
one.
It's too bad for constructed.
Yeah.
And there's Battlefield tapped.
Yeah, I mean, are they going to use this in that that colorless Ugin deck?
I mean, this mills if you have a Kankrix out. So.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
You know,
That's a combo.
that's much better. That is a combo, technically.
Yeah.
But yeah, do you think this would ever fit? Like they're playing that colorless deck is playing Guardian Idol. Like, would you play this?
Guardian Idol's way better, I think.
Just because it can be a creature, even though it's
attacking planeswalkers.
That's
is
true.
Pretty,
You're right. Yeah, in that deck.
Important. Like
Yeah.
you really need to care about snow to even consider playing this, I think.
Also, they don't care about colors, so it wouldn't matter at all.
Right.
That's the deck that really plays mana rocks. So this is once again a. You know what's good with this card? You play it in your Jorn Historic Brawl deck. You
There
attack
you
with
go.
Jorn, it untaps that turn. Boom.
Boom. Combo.
But it's not worth a slot. Other
And it
places.
milled too with the Kankrix on the way in. That's
Amazing. Busted. Ban it.
Yeah.
Do you want to get this next one?
Blink Moth Nexus. This is a card I was excited about because this was one of the cards that when I was really young and playing the game, I didn't understand why it was such a coveted card and so good. But everyone was after this. But since then, it's kind of been usurped in older formats by more powerful stuff. But Blink Moth Nexus is a land, has tapped out a colorless. You can pay 1 to turn it into a 1/1 artifact creature with flying till end of turn. And in particular, it's a Blink Moth artifact creature. And you can also pay 1 and tap it. Target Blink Moth creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn.
Sweet. So this is the card that goes into that colorless deck.
Yeah, and this is like, it ups your artifact count too, because you can tap it to activate itself just to turn it into an artifact until end of turn.
Right.
Which does often come up in terms of like just whenever you need some number of artifacts to accomplish something.
Yeah. Or if you're using like Karn and one of his like golems or something, they get bigger, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. This was a great card back in the day. I don't know if it really stands up to modern standards, especially Historic. Has a lot of really powerful cards in it, so maybe, but I don't know. You need to be some sort of like artifact aggro deck to really want this.
Yeah, you think so?
Like this is like a faceless haven for artifacts, kind of. Instead of for snow.
It's Faceless Haven that you don't have to devote yourself to snow, and it only costs 1 to activate, although it's a really small creature. But I think we'll see. This is probably one of the cards I'm expecting to see most of or more of, just because I think people will be trying it out. It's easy enough to put into things and see if you can kind of work it out.
Yeah, I just think we have better man lines in this. I don't know. Part of the reason people played this was because there was an infect version, and so
Right.
you wanted to like make the infect the Ink Moth Nexus, and then pump it with this
Gotcha.
because it was a Blink Moth creature.
Interesting. Okay, that makes sense. So until we get Infect on Arena, which I'm please, because I love Infect.
I love playing against Infect.
Yeah, but hey, look at that. See, it's my kind of thing because like Infect is the entire deck is just small creatures with pump spells and different things that pump stuff. Love it.
I loved playing against Infect because they just like attack with a 1/1, and you're like, then they pass priority, and you're like, I can't kill it now, right? Like if I lightning bolt this now, I'm gonna die. So then you pass, and it's just this staring mat. I take 1.
Yeah, that sounds
A
great.
very high tension game where both players, it's like who's gonna blink first, kind of.
Yeah, with their Blink Moth or their Ink Moth.
Ink Moth Nexus.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna say worth a slot. I like Blink Moth Nexus.
Okay, I'm gonna go the other way. I think we just have better man lands than this
Okay.
nowadays. So
All right.
you need to care about the fact that it's an artifact.
That's fine. I mean, I thought we were just agreeing on all this stuff, and then you just decided not to agree with me anymore. So whatever.
Yeah, that's I go my own way. You know?
Yeah. You can read this next one then. Have fun.
Oh, jeez. I was hoping to dodge this one. But... All right, so this is a card I've never seen before. This is Hamza, Guardian of Arashin. It's 4 green-white for a legendary creature, Elephant Warrior. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it, and creature spells you cast cost 1 less to cast for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. It's a 5/5.
Yep.
Like, how is there not a more signal of, like, historic brawl than this, right?
You're right. This really is one of the biggest ones. Not only that we got 2 different cards from Commander Legends that are actual commanders. This is the second one after Abomination of Llanowar. But yeah, this has definitely been like, hey, this is your commander. This is your deck. I'm telling you what to do.
Nobody's going to play this in competitive
I
constructed.
think I
right?
might know somebody that would try to play it.
Yeah.
But
Like, the only thing I can possibly think of is you're playing like a green-white Celeste, aggro deck. You have the other elephant that puts a counter for everything you convoked,
yeah.
and then you play this for like 2. But it just feels like in that scenario, it's the other elephant that's good and not this random extra 5/5 you get.
Yeah, because it wants to spread the counters out and not make something go tall, which is kind of interesting. I do like that. But though it goes a little bit away from the Ozolith, which is.
But then it also wants you to be playing big creatures to take advantage of its second ability. So it wants you to go wide and tall.
What?
Like the second ability makes big creatures cost less.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So it
gotcha.
wants you to go wide and put counters on everything, but then it also incentivizes you for playing big creatures.
Big, expensive stuff.
Like that's part of the payoff.
Yeah.
So.
Or just playing a ton of little ones that. It seems good in Historic Brawl because it'll cost less through commander decks. Awesome.
Right.
That's why it was made.
You don't know if it seems good, but it seems like a thing that you could do.
Yes. So another one of those things. Hey, could be a cool brawl deck. It's not worth a slot in a historic deck, I don't think.
Definitely not.
I would look at it often, and then just take it out of the deck.
Yeah.
Though this next one, I do like this one. I'm at Eternal. 2 and a black for a 5/5 creature zombie crocodile demon. It has afflict 3, and whenever an opponent casts a spell, put a -1/-1 counter on it, and whenever it deals combat damage to a player, remove all -1/-1 counters from it. I just liked it because it was a big zombie for 3.
Yeah, I think this saw some play in standard in like red-black aggro decks before people figured out there were just kind of better things to play.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. Might not be totally accurate. Just doesn't really seem good enough to me. I mean, if you just want beef, we have stuff that does that.
That's true.
Like, I think I'd play Rotting Regisaur before I played this.
Okay.
If I was in a black aggro deck that just wants something huge for 3.
That is true. I do like this that they can't chump it forever because of the afflict, but I do think probably Rotting Regisaur is better.
But the thing is, if you block it, you take 3, but the counters don't reset.
Correct.
So you kind of kill this over time. Maybe it does 6 damage or whatever.
Or by that point, it gets blocked and killed anyway.
Right, yeah.
Just because it's small enough at that point.
Yeah, you probably take 3 damage off this realistically and maybe lose a creature.
Mm-hmm. If you can bring it back over and over again, awesome. But there isn't a lot of stuff at the moment that does things like that. So I want to say it's worth a slot, but it probably isn't.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know what? No, I'm going to be my own person. It's definitely worth a slot.
I mean, if you're looking for like cards to fill out your Crocodile Tribal deck, I think this will probably slot right into that.
For sure. I wish this was
good
legendary.
Enough to crack the zombie list.
I want this to be legendary so I could make it my commander in my Historic Brawl for my my tribal deck of zombie crocodile.
We're both just going to go brew a bunch of Historic Brawl decks, and it's just not going to be true.
And they never do it. That'd be great. This next card definitely feels like it's once again for Historic Brawl stuff.
So this is Sawtusk Demolisher, 4 green for a creature beast. Trample, mutate, 3 and a green. Whenever this creature mutates, destroy target non-creature permanent. Its controller creates a 3/3 green beast creature token, 6/6. I get it. It's Beast Within.
Yep.
On a stick.
On legs. Yeah.
Yes, I suppose on multiple sticks. Not good enough.
Not good enough.
Competitive constructed.
No one's playing a big mutate deck.
Even if you are, you have better options than this.
Yeah, it just seems like also just giving them a 3/3 just don't want to do that.
Well, you could destroy your own stuff. Make your own 3/3s.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Like in the late game, you can mutate this, get rid of an extra land, turn it into a 3/3. You know.
Okay. All right. That does make sense. I see what you're doing there.
It's part of what made Beast Within oddly good. Is that it's like a 3 mana and it does that effect at instant speed, and it's just like it's kind of versatile enough to make it good though, because I can target myself.
Yeah.
Like if they're gonna kill something, I can Beast Within my that's not a creature though. But if they're gonna like blow up my artifact, I can Beast Within my own thing to get a 3/3.
Obviously, this is an instant speed, so we can't do those kinds of shenanigans.
Makes it a lot worse.
It makes it repeatable, but you kind of have to be focused on mutate.
But if you do use it on your opponent's side, they can attack with the 3/3 on their next turn. Part of this was like you do it on their end step or in their combat phase, so they have to miss a whole turn of attacking with the 3/3 when it was instant speed. But
So, seems a lot worse. Once again, it might fit into your mutate mutate historic brawl deck. So
yes,
awesome for that.
I feel like you timed this so that the cards I do are super long and the cards you do are like one-liners.
No, that's not true. But speaking about things that you don't want to give your opponent, or maybe you do, this is Harmless Offering. It's 2 and a red for a sorcery. Target opponent gains control of target permanent you control.
Yeah, people love these kinds of cards because they're funny.
They just seem fun.
Right?
Yeah.
It is fun to try to figure out how to make it, best use of this. When it works, it's going to be awesome, and I think kind of funny for both players. But it's not a good effect, right?
No, unless you're doing the demonic pact thing.
Right, that's the best thing in Historic to be doing with this, and that's not a very reliable combo.
No, but it does seem fun. If you have the cards already, try it. I don't have them, so I will not be trying this.
I definitely played this when it was in Standard, this combo, so.
Yeah. This card is really great for me because I play decks with a lot of terrible cards.
You're just using it honestly.
Yeah, I put this in my deck. It's not great. So here, let's do a little switcheroo.
It doesn't switcheroo. It just
gives them stuff. If you ever want to ramp your opponent, you can do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really hard to use this card because you have to put permanents in your deck that you actively do not want to have on your side of the battlefield, and then also draw this and give it to them.
Yeah, so
it's bad. People love it though, especially because it has a cute cat as the art.
And it's harmless, right? It's a really nice harmless inclusion. I'm not upset by it.
No, of course not.
Yeah,
and it makes Demonic Pact another card people love.
Yeah.
It gives you more options for how to build with the cards. So.
It's worth a slot in that deck for sure. It kind of makes that a lot more.
So if you're interested in your 80-card Yorion Mardu pile with Demonic Pacts and Harmless Offerings.
Do we have something for you?
Yeah. Because here's the thing, Zach. You can also give them your enchantment that draws 3 and then drains you for 1 every time you play a spell.
That's true. Except actually no, you can't do that because when you target it, it sacrifices itself.
Bummer. They thought of it.
They already thought of it.
They thought of the OP combo.
Yeah, okay. I draw 3 cards, but then you have to now lose a life every time you play it. But you know what you could do? You can play Torment of Scarabs on yourself, and then Harmless Offering it to them.
Get around that ley line of sanctity. Oh, no.
Yeah.
No,
nope.
It doesn't do that.
No, it doesn't do that either. But anyway, it seems kind of fun. I think it's worth a slot in that deck. Fun just to have that tool to mess around with. If you're ever feeling a little extra frisky one day, you want to build a deck where that you can use that, go right ahead.
I got it. If you're playing against rogues, you put in Leyline of the Void, and then you give it to them, so none of your cards go to your graveyard. They go straight to exile.
You just exile your graveyard. Okay, sure.
That's that sweet tech.
That's some sweet tech. I really like that. How about you tackle this next one? Because I still don't know what this card does.
I know, there's so many cards that I've never seen before. Okay, Collected Conjuring, 2 blue-red sorcery. Exile the top 6 cards of your library. You may cast up to 2 sorcery spells with mana value 3 or less from among them without paying their mana costs. Put the exiled cards not cast this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. I like how they used mana value.
Oh, I didn't even realize that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So they changed it to, but it still says mana. Wait, where does it say? It says mana value 3, and then choose card from among them without paying their mana costs. What's a mana cost then?
That's their cost.
Oh,
so
but
this
mana
is
value...
collected company for sorceries.
Oh, but mana value is only talking about...
Mana value replaces converted mana cost only.
Right, and then and mana cost is still a thing.
Still called mana cost, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, so this is collected company.
I love
for
that I didn't even realize that was how that worked when we were talking about it. Okay.
You thought just everything was going to be mana
Yeah,
value,
that's what I was just like, okay, fine. We're just saying mana value instead. That's cool. But it's still a cost. That makes a lot more sense. I'm more on board with the mana value thing now.
I think it's to distinguish between mana cost and converted mana cost.
Yes.
They now have different words.
So that their like mana costs don't change when things reduce their converted mana cost. So they reduce their mana value, but not their mana cost. Sorry, everyone. I just had to quickly learn something about the game that I'm having a podcast about. But yes, collected conjuring. Yeah, it's collected company, except for is it
for sorceries
and only sorceries.
Yep, and it's a sorcery itself.
So you find other
Pretty
ones?
bad.
No, you can't. They
Pretty
have to
bad,
be 3 or
but
less.
if there's some sort of combo, maybe like if there's a 2-card combo that involves sorceries with mana value 3 or less,
like
you would, and it's in blue and red, then you would definitely play this card.
Sounds like if you're trying to dig for your harmless offering, you could use this card.
That seems a bit sketch. Harmless offering wants you to play permanents.
Oh man.
Collected company, this is not.
It's not collected company at all. I see the idea, but the fact that it doesn't hit instants is so awful.
It's a cool design.
It's a cool design. I see what they're
like
going for.
It's fun. It's collected company, but for sorceries.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see problems might come up if they allowed instants and made this an instance. So
aren't like most of the time sorceries are big and do huge things, right? That's the reason you're okay with playing them on your turn.
Dude, you pay 4 mana, double divination. What's up?
Okay.
Sure. That makes this a sorcery speed into the story. Pretty good.
Oh, good. Yes, that's what I wanted. Yeah, I don't love it. I'm gonna say it's not worth the slot. Get out of here.
No, it's bad, but it's fun.
It's really bad.
It's funny.
But here we go. Last one.
Headline.
Wow, we really went through this. We already did our headliner. You know that.
Yeah, 3-minute Spectre.
All right, but this is the one that's supposed to be the headliner, which I'm actually pretty excited about. I know that you're... Anyway, it doesn't matter. This is Death's Shadow. It's a 1-mana black creature avatar. That's a 13/13.
What?
Yeah, it's a 13/13 for 1 mana. And
that's crazy.
That's it. It doesn't say anything else. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Of course it does. Death's Shadow gets -X, where X is your life total.
All right, so for those who haven't played with or against this card, you play it next to lots of ways to lose your own life. So shock lands, the new lands from Zendikar Rising, the Bolt lands.
The Bolt lands.
Thoughtseize comes to mind, as you lose 2 life when you cast Thoughtseize.
Yeah, buddy.
So you're just trying to turbocharge your life total down and then play this. I actually have an interesting story about this. When the first time I ever played Modern, I was just visiting she's now my wife, but she was my girlfriend at the time. I was visiting her family, her cousins, and they were into Magic. And so when we said we went to visit them, they said, "Oh, can you come to our local store with us and play?" And they were teenagers, they're in high school, so I assumed it would be a draft, right? But it was actually a Modern event. And so they just gave me a Modern deck to play, and they took their favorite Modern decks. They had extras. So what I didn't think about later what I thought about later, is that they both had, like, jobs and literally no expenses. So, that's why they had Modern decks. But I'm playing, and I end up going 3-0. I was playing Affinity, and I'm in the finals. And I agreed to split with the guy beforehand. But then I'm playing against him, and he's just shocking himself and not using the mana. He would like fetch for a shock land at my end step, comes into play untapped, he takes 2, and then go to his turn. And I'm sitting there like, how did this guy make it to 3-0? He's like just taking damage for no reason, like an idiot. Like, this is going to be the easiest win of my life. I never should have split with this fool. It's like totally super cocky now. Like, this guy doesn't even understand the basics. Like, he could have just let that come into play, tap, save 2 life. Come on. And then he has this turn where he just goes Death Shadow, and they're both like 8/8s. And I'm sitting there like, I understand. All is clear now. I'm going to lose this game. And I just like scoop up my cards. We go to game 2. And I'm a little more vigilant of it this time. But yeah, this card is super weird. There's some weird blocking stuff that goes on. So it's like, its power and toughness changes at the exact same time that damage goes through. So this will often survive combats when you didn't think it would, if you're blocking against it. Like, let's say you attack me. I block with my Death's Shadow, and I don't block your other thing. So you attack with a 7/7 and a 2/2. My Death's Shadow is a 7/7. I block your 7/7. My Death's Shadow will survive because the 2 damage happens at the exact same time, and my Death's Shadow instantaneously becomes a 9/9 with only 7 damage on it.
Oh.
So if you don't know that, you just kind of get fucked. So if you're playing against this in Historic, make sure you know how that works if you're attacking somebody with the Death Shadow.
That's a good tip, because I wasn't even thinking about that. But this is the card that obviously I am very excited about. It reminds me of my Axis of Mortality deck that I had put together. And maybe that's,
right.
Maybe I'm bringing that back. Because either that or just, this is one I'm definitely going to try to make something happen, because it's exactly the kind of play style that I like, where you just lose a bunch of life.
If this deck is good, like if there's a good deck around Death's Shadow, I kind of like that. The only issue I have with Death's Shadow is the weird rules thing that I just described that like favors the player who knows the weird rules interaction. I don't love that kind of stuff. But it is really strategic, right? If you're playing this deck, you have to be so mindful of what you're doing, because you're trying to make this as good as possible by losing your own life. But if you go too low and you die to a shock, you're going to feel like an idiot.
Yeah.
So it is an interesting card. My concern is that there are not good instant speed ways to lose life in Historic. There's a couple. There's a Danto Vanguard, although I think we're pushing the envelope on what we call good there.
That's a great card. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's not a great card. It's an okay card. But if you look at the successful decks in Modern, a huge part of it is like Street Wraith, which cycles for 2 life. So that's an instant speed, draw a card, give my Death Shadow +2/+2. It's just a free combat trick. Fetch lands, you can lose 3 life at instant speed with them by fetching a shock. So it kind of hinges on that a lot. And then the cards that usually go with it, the best cards, are not available to us in Historic. The blue versions play Stubborn Denial, which is like a 1-mana counterspell in that deck. Plays Temur Battle Rage, which I guess we could try Embercleave instead, but kind of the idea is you only have one huge creature and you're just killing them with it.
And so Embercleave in and itself is going to cost more.
Right.
So
all the stuff that people play with this, excluding Thoughtseize, is not really available to us in Historic,
So it seems like it's a new time to brew a Death Shadow deck, is what I say. Hey, maybe there's some stuff we didn't realize we could use with it. But I'm pretty excited for it, and this is the one that I'm going to be doing some things around.
It's a nice card, and it complements the recent edition of, the like 2-mana version of this that came in Zendikar.
Exactly. So now you kind of have 4-ish. Or sorry, 8-ish. But yeah, so that is the Historic Anthology number 4. But Jeff, how does this rank up with the other ones? So people have kind of been talking about like this is the meh one of the 4 of them. But let's go back, just like quickly kind of think about what the other anthologies are. So now Remember, I was not playing on Arena at these times when they first came out. I kind of joined when Mac started, and basically these were just there. And I was like, sweet, okay, that's probably part of the anthology thing or whatever. But going back through them, they all seem to be fairly similar. I thought it was going to be a very stark contrast, but
I think the reason that that's happening, I think in terms of power level, maybe this one's a bit low.
yeah.
But it's not as far off as people seem to be suggesting. I think it's just less resonant because the first ones, it was a novel idea, first of all. Like, we didn't know this was coming, and oh, wow, all of a sudden, there's these, absolute classics being added to the format. But that's the other thing, is the things being added were, like, classic cards that people have a lot of nostalgia for.
And even, like, Fire Exing in Arena. That's on Arena, and people don't play it. And it's a really iconic card from the past that just isn't being played.
I love that card. I still want to build mono black control and Historic.
Yeah, I also really love that card, but to the point where like I'll see people talk about it and not realize it's even on Arena at all.
Right.
But even some of the
people were excited about that, and then nobody plays it.
Exactly. So it'll be fun to see what the kind of exciting things that we are excited for in this one, or maybe not at all, and the tables kind of turned. We're like, oh, maybe actually that was a lot better than I thought. But kind of going through the other anthologies, there are certain ones that are like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. But there's other cards that seem like, oh, I would be kind of excited for that. And then looking at it like, well, nobody plays any of these though. Like, oh, cool. So tribal cards, sweet. We got Goblin Matron. We have this Merfolk guy, that Merfolk Lord. And a couple other things. Platinum Angel has fucked me over a bunch of times because I forget that card's in the deck. Obviously, in Historic Anthology #3, we got Ulamog, which is a really big deal.
Yep, hated that.
Yeah. But even besides Ulamog, like the rest of the cards in that anthology was kind of like Gem Palm Incinerator. Sweet. That was helpful for goblins to actually interact with things. And then people were...
I think they were kind of cutting it, too.
Yeah.
People were kind of cutting incinerators.
Yeah. Fire Exing Obliterator seemed really exciting, and then people started to do some tech around that. And then basically they gave the other shrines from Kamigawa, because that was around the time when they were going to get the newest shrines from M21. But, looking back, I was expecting to think that, oh, the anthologies have a really high marking, and this one's really low. This one seems not as low as I had thought. And it's like, sure, maybe some of these cards don't seem exciting to you, but I'm sure there's people that are either excited about them or happy to have them in the format. And at the end of the day, it's something that obviously we don't have to buy. You can only pick the ones that you want if you need to. Great. Really happy to have them.
The other thing I'll say about the original Historic Anthologies, too, is that at the time, those were like the only way that cards were getting injected straight into a Historic.
Yeah.
So because this one came out after 2 remastered sets, obviously its impact is going to be way smaller because there's just so many cards that have been added to the format directly. Whereas the first 2, it was basically standard plus these cards. Mm-hmm. So these cards would see a lot more play than...
That's a really good point. Yeah.
The new cards are going to see.
Because the other 3 came out before we got Jumpstart, Amonkhet Remastered, and Kaladesh Remastered. So...
Right, yeah. I didn't even count Jumpstart that's come out before this one.
Yeah, which was huge. So, and a lot of cards that I thought were in an anthology were actually from Jumpstart. So there you go. Honestly, through this whole experience, all I've thought about is, WotC, bring Jumpstart back to Arena so I can get more of those cards easier.
Yeah. I don't think that's happening, buddy.
I know.
Say goodbye to your wild cards.
And it's just like, man. Okay, WotC, let me buy wild cards. Using
definitely
gold.
Not happening. I can guarantee you that's not
using gold. I want to buy wild cards. But anyway, once again, if we did not make it abundantly clear through this entire episode, or even at the beginning when we told you straight up, if you skipped past that part, we do not recommend you pay full price for these cards. Do not waste your gems. Do not waste your gold.
You know what? You could accomplish the exact same thing and save 4,000 gems by just using 4 common wild cards to craft 4 Thraben Inspectors.
Yeah.
And your collection will be pretty much the same. So.
And again, make sure you have a full deck before you just start getting cards that you're never going to use, which is good advice for both Arena and Paper Magic.
They should have an option to get one of each card, especially if the plan is to bring Historic
You're
Brawl.
100% right. Why are they trying to swindle people into getting 4 copies when they're going to use one for the Historic? Yeah, for their Historic Brawl. What is this? Okay, that's what it should be. Hey, it costs this much to get all 4, but it costs this much to get one of each. Why don't they have that?
Yeah, even if it was like not to scale, right? Like not just 1,000 gems, which is a quarter the cost. It could be 1,500 gems even.
Yeah, just to be like, oh, I want one of each. I think that's a great idea. What has been abundantly clear is that this is a product that will be helpful for Historic Brawl when that comes out next month, I guess.
Oh, damn.
No, it'll be by July, but like, who knows? Those are our thoughts on this anthology. Hopefully, we'll be talking about another anthology or remastered set sooner than we think, because right now there are no other plans. Oh no, that's not true.
Pioneer Masters.
Pioneer Masters is the next plan, which
So it's not a remastered set, but it's...
yeah, but it kind of went back into development, so I don't know if they're changing it up a little bit and might stretch it out and do the block by block, which I kind of hope. I kind of hope they do the shadows and then they go.
I was enjoying the block by block remaster of old formats that I remember and play this updated version for a bit.
Totally. You know? I mean, I've never got to draft Tarkir, anything. So.
Oh, that was a great format.
And it would be really cool if you get to pick if you're doing Dragons of Tarkir or Khans of Tarkir with Fate Reforged in the middle, and you just do 2-in-1 or 2-in-1.
Can I choose triple Khans because that was the best one?
I mean, I know everybody liked triple Khans, but there's some things you could do besides just having a remastered set. Food for thought. I'm excited to see what comes up, but
they can't bring Khans to Arena though. You can't have fetch lands.
They keep them out. They don't have to. They just won't add them.
Right. I guess if it's remastered, you just don't even include them.
Exactly. You're just like nope, and people will be like, okay.
Yeah,
but
fair.
If they did bring fetch lands to Arena, it'd make Death Shadow a little bit better.
A lot better. Khans block coming back would actually just make it way better because you get Stubborn Denial, you get Teamer Battle Rage, and you get fetch lands.
There you go. Boom. Look at that. All right. Let's skip the other ones. We're going straight to Tarkir remastered. That's what I want.
I would love that. I loved that format. That's what got me back into Magic. So
I totally missed out. I joined in Magic Origins. Literally the next. I came back in Magic Origins. Bummer.
You know what? I like that set too, though. I thought the flip planeswalkers were pretty cool.
I did think they were cool. I got 3 of them in a box, so that was nice.
Were any of them Jace?
Yes. I got Jace,
Nice.
Gideon, and Nissa. And I was like...
I think you mean Kythian.
Sorry. Kithian, yeah.
Kythian.
Oh, wait. Jeff, do you hear that? It sounds like it's last call.
Oh, my gosh.
Already? Wow. I definitely think it is. Let's go to last call. 3, 2, 1. Hey, classic.
No surprise there, right?
Yeah, I didn't. We both picked our own. I was not anticipating Jeff would pick this beer.
Yep.
I picked it because I wanted to drink it, and I knew he probably wouldn't want to as much as me.
Thanks for that. So what do you want to start with? The sour or the wild ale?
Let's start with the wild ale. Before I forget.
All right, that's the one I brought. It's Bear Warship Wild Ale with peach and nectarine, 8%. I like this one. It's pretty good.
Yeah, I like it too.
I definitely tasted the fruit in it, which I liked. You know, I didn't expect to really, because oftentimes it says something like that, and you can kind of get a hint of it, but it's not really present. I felt like it was actually present in this. Other than that, it just kind of tastes like an ale. I don't know if I'm getting the wild aspect of it, of the wild yeast. But that's also kind of a part of wild yeast is...
It's just wild.
It might just... Yeah.
It's just crazy, you know?
It might just ferment normally, you know? Like, but overall, I really liked it.
Yeah, same. I thought it was great. I really liked all the flavors there. It does also feel a little bit like a sour.
Exactly, because of the fruitiness and like it, you know, it just did have that sour appeal to it.
Yeah, so I liked it. solid platinum in my books.
Yeah, for me it was diamond. I just liked it a lot. I think that's the right way to describe it. It just tastes like a sour ale. That's where the emphasis, the word in bold there is ale and not sour.
Yeah, yeah, sour ale, not sour ale.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like beer worship. I mean, I really like Blood Brothers.
It's bear worship, man.
Bear worship. Did I say beer worship again? Shoot.
Yeah.
So I've tried some of the other bear worships as well, and they're good. I like them. But usually they're not the reason I go to Blood Brothers to get stuff. There are other beers that I like the most there. So that's why it's
fair enough.
I think it's good. Usually if I buy a bunch, I'll have one or two, so it's like one I'll continue to get, but I don't think of beer worship when I think of this brewery.
Bear worship.
Did I say beer again?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Beer.
Or am I just messing with
you? Bear worship. I thought I said bear worship. Are you screwing with me again? Oh my gosh. Okay. Anyway, with the Paradise Lost. So this blackberry blackberry gin. There's no ginger. Blackberry gin one is one that I've seen that they came out with, and I was excited to taste it because I've liked their other Paradise Lost ones.
And you have a little bit of a gin background.
And I have a gin background. So anything that says gin, I'm going to try it always. And I like this one quite a bit. I think the blackberry is very prominent and very juicy.
Yeah. So I love blackberry. It's my favorite berry.
Mm-hmm. It's the blackest.
And you definitely get the blackberry. Mm-hmm. I didn't really get the gin botanicals that I was kind of expecting from the gin. Just the fact that it had the word gin in it. Mm-hmm. This happened to us last time we ordered a gin beer, and it's just like, I'm not really getting the gin.
Yeah. So I think the one problem with the other one that we had with the gin is that like that one tasted like an IPA and like nothing else. This one tastes like blackberry, and I'm sure that there are gin stuff in it. Some of those botanicals got a little overpowered or like melded into this blackberry taste. Not that I can't distinctly taste I cannot distinctly taste the gin botanicals in it. However, it does taste like something that could also be a gin cocktail. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, sure.
That like a gin cocktail that had blackberries in it, right? That was like, oh, this just tastes like blackberries, but there's also
sounds
gin.
Good to me. I would
right?
that.
And so I'm into that as well. Once again, this is a sour that tastes like a juicy sour that has
very juicy. Yeah.
Borderline, is it beer? Which is how I like my sours. I like it to be distinct. This is like a sour, as opposed to a sour that also tastes like a beer, which is what you prefer.
Right. I like it to be, this is a beer and it has sour notes.
Mm-hmm. And I like
much like the beer that I picked is kind of like that.
Yeah. That interesting enough, because that one tasted more like just a regular sour to me than some of the other ones that we've had that were like, it's sour, but also something.
Right.
But this Paradise Lost, I mean, number one, purple beers are great. Number two, I like sours. Number three, yeah, I'm going to give it diamond.
Yeah, it's funny. I'll give it platinum. Mm-hmm. Just kind of crisscrossed on that one. I acknowledge that it's a really well-made beer, and it's not like I don't like it, but like you were saying, it's not the way I prefer my sour beers to taste.
Yeah.
And going in, I did know that about Blood Brothers. Mm-hmm. That when they make sours, they do tend to make it like juicy like this. So I wasn't surprised that you like all their sours. And for me, it's like I like all their other beer, but the sours, I prefer to get sours from somewhere else because other places just kind of match my preferences a little better.
Sure. For sure. So no real judgments there. But bummed you didn't pick mine. No, it's fine.
Yeah, it's clearly something they're doing intentionally because every single sour I've tried from them is that style.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is something that their brewmaster is doing. And he's a very good, they're a very good brewery. Yeah. So it's not something they're doing by accident.
It is funny because, like, as far as IPAs go, I prefer the juicy ones, and something that's not really juicy, I don't care for very much. So maybe I just like juice. Maybe I'm just... I also like wine, so there you go. Juice.
Next week, we'll just be drinking 3 juices.
All right, so we have Capri
juices.
Sun, and we have 2 different boxes. Anyway, it's closing time. So if you can always reach us at Arena Regulars on Twitter and Instagram.
Yeah, you might run into us on MTG Arena itself under the username Arena Regulars Podcast. Give us a good nice if we make a good play.
Yes.
We'll return the favor.
Yes, absolutely. If you want to talk to me personally, you can find me at Zulberg on Instagram and Twitter. That's Zulberg, Zeulberg. But Jeff, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter as well at Blues Brews MTG. Or you can find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/bluesbrews. I go live Wednesday and Thursday nights and occasional weekends if I'm trying to work something in.
Yeah. Also, please leave us a review on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, any place that you can listen to us. We'd love the engagement, and just please tell us what you like. This has been the Arena Regulars.
Reminding you not to spend your hard-earned gems on the Historic Anthology IV.
Good night. All right, that's fine.